Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast, presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh with MitsuTimes. Today, our special guest is George Tsangaris. He is the owner and co-driver of the Evo on our Rally Times list. How are you doing today, George?
Good. How are you, Josh?
I'm great, man. It's good to hear from you. I talk to drag racers all day, so it's good to hear from someone a little bit outside of my little world.
Just a little bit different variety, eh?
Yeah. So tell us about your Rally Evo. What's the setup on it?
So the Evo was built for the Group N regulations in Europe, which pretty much limits what we can do on the rally car. So therefore, it means that the majority of the stuff that you can find on the car is pretty much stock. However, since we came in Canada, the regulations are a little bit more relaxed, so you can find a lot of good updates relative to what you find in European rally cars, such as the larger turbo restrictor in 34 millimeters instead of the regular 33 or 32, and you can find the Riker rally suspension for gravel spec, adjust spec performance fuel tank on the rear, a lot of beefed up suspension parts, but anything else that you find in the car is pretty much just stock. And you can find the roll cage by City Customs cells. That just allows us to protect the car and keep it nice and rigid, specifically when you go through the very rough stages that we used to run in Cyprus.
Okay. So what got you into rally racing?
What got me into rally racing, it's pretty much, I started from my mother since 2002 or 2001 actually. He began racing, starting with a Russian-made car, actually Lada Samara, and then he made his way through the beautiful four-wheel drive turbo action cars, and that is because he always loved the Mitsubishi. His aspiration was always the driver for Mitsubishi, Tommi Mäkinen.
Yep.
And especially from where we're from, Cyprus was actually hosting around those years, and for many years before that, the 21st century, it was hosting the World Rally Championship round for called the Cyprus Rally. Of course, one of the most popular, and people and drivers all over the world of just different crazy driving styles will come over and compete at those stages. So everybody there was really into this sport. My dad just made it happen for him to get involved into the sport, and eventually just he got me into it's like a bike just getting passed down to generation. So from my dad it got passed down to me, and of course seeing him running all the time when I was a kid and competing and being in all this action, I always wanted to continue that, and I didn't want to step aside. So I got into it. I tried to help my dad, especially since we came in Canada. It's just us two. A lot of our, team mechanics and friends that we had that were helping us with the rally team actually are back in Cyprus, so it's just us two. And I tried to find what could be the future for us here in Canada. And at the moment, it's me and my dad actually driving. I'm not the co-driver. I'm the secondary driver for the team.
Oh, okay.
I'm still the learner. Let's just say I'm still not as fast. I've driven the car probably 2 times on a rally stage, on a proper, on a gravel stage actually. My dad though has been racing and driving rally cars since 2001. He took a little break when he was building this car when we moved to Canada, but I persuaded him to get back into it also. And so we formed this Tsangaris Rally Team pretty much, and we're continuing what we love to do.
Yeah, that's a great story, man.
Yeah.
So why did you choose you kind of already answered it, but why did you choose the Evo as your racing platform?
Yeah, the Evo, as many of you, and as you know, and also many of the listeners will know, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo was pretty much created to to compete in the rally world, specifically the model RS, which means Rally Sport. Those cars were made specifically by a manufacturer for privateers to turn them from regular road cars into rally cars. But Mitsubishi specifically for us was always really attached based on we really got attracted for that platform pretty much because of how it looked. And personally, I always liked, apart from the way they look and how amazing they can pull everybody's faces, it's also the sound they can produce after you do these slight modifications that they're needed, such as the rotational idling, and you put a straight pipe onto for an exhaust system typically, and the sound these cars produce is just beyond me. And also the combination of the red color that the factory team used to run in the later years was just amazing. It's just like seeing a Ferrari in the Formula One. You see all that red, it really pulls your face and your attraction towards that car. It was the same for Mitsubishi, and that's how we decided to go with that's how we got into the Mitsubishi platform. And we chose the Lancer Evo. Actually, before the Evo 9, we used to run with the Evo 6.
Oh, wow.
And around 2007, my dad took the decision that he wanted to go with the Evo 9. He always loved that car. He always admired the way it looked, and was very, very competitive at the time. And actually, in a lot of championships in Europe, it still is very, very competitive. And he actually imported it from Japan. It was still relatively new. I mean, the car probably was around 2 years old with very, very minimal kilometers on it. And yeah, we decided to go with it because at the time it had the best, such as the ACD, the active control differential. It was very, very ahead of its time, still is, and would just give a massive advantage relative to some other cars at the time or previous generation Evos. And also a lot of the modifications they made on the car, the manufacturing allowed the car to be almost like impenetrable to any type of damage that typically arises from, rally stage and a lot of the stuff we're running on these cars during the events.
When you bought this Evo, or when your dad brought it over, was it just a bone stock Evo?
Yeah, correct. It was bone dry, had nothing done. It was pretty much just crazy stock power. I still remember how, even as a stock, sometimes we'll have this misinterpretation that these cars are actually slow in real life, but 280 horsepower with no turbo restrictor, this car would actually pull like crazy. Now a lot of that power is actually being choked out because of the turbo restrictor we have on the rally cars, as the regulations force us to have, which is a 34 millimeter. A lot of you will know that 34 is not a lot. So at the time, without anything on the turbo, which just freely open, this car was crazy fast for what it was, for a stock car.
Obviously, when you got this Evo, you already knew that it was going to be prepped to go rally racing.
Yeah, pretty much that was the intention. So the car was going to arrive in Cyprus in 2007, and maybe I'm not really sure how long it took for my dad to start stripping down everything, his mechanics, but it was not really long after. I think it was at the same year that my dad and his mechanic at the time began stripping the car down. I have some pictures, and if any of you listeners would like to go through our Instagram account, you'll find some pictures I have that it was myself around 7 or 8 years old at the time, sitting next to on the car while it was being stripped, because I remember the days that we were stripping it apart. I was always there helping. They were telling me to unscrew this bolt, unscrew this nut, take out this. So even at that age, 7, 8 years old, I was still involved.
That's awesome.
To answer the question, overall, that was the purpose of the car to come. It wasn't as a daily thing. It was just to come in Cyprus and be converted into a rally car the way my dad wanted it at the time.
With all the restrictions and everything, has it had any different setups in it as far as engine turbo combos other than factory and what you're running now?
Unfortunately, no. The car always just stayed within the stock range. It was never really upgraded. The only thing that it was done um, that was a little bit different than what it was stock. We changed the turbo to the GSR version. When Mitsubishi was making the cars, especially the RS version, their turbos initially they could not last the anti-lag because as a rally car specifically, run on anti-lag because we need the continuous flow of torque. That is the most important thing on coming out and coming into corners. And the GSR version was the way they designed the turbo with I think the titanium butterfly inside. I'm not too sure with the technicality of it, but that turbo could hold on into that pressure that was coming from the anti-lag and the heat. So that's the only difference that was had with the setups. And since then, there have been some newer turbos that came out from Mitsubishi from the following versions that the cars were allowed to use.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the turbo and the engine has been relatively left untouched, pretty much due to these crazy regulations that they exist.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they kind of wound you pretty tight. You can't stray far from the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing, Joshua, is actually every I would say country is a little bit different. So in Europe, primarily, we're restricted to 33 millimeters at the time. Now they just changed it to 34. You're allowed, but if you move to 34 millimeter restrictor, you move into a different class. But also, if you here in the North American continent, I would say, or the American continent, it's a little bit different. The regulations are completely different, such as we have here the open class and the production class. Production class is similar to Group N class in Europe, although they allow some more, freeness, just some more freedom for drivers to modify their suspension a little bit more. And the open class, as it says, it's open, so you're allowed to do whatever you want on your car, but you have to maintain some body structures and dimensions to the stock.
Huh. So if you could start all over, would you still stick with the Evo platform for your rally build?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm falling in love with the Evo 9. I can personally never get rid of it. My dad, I know for sure he can never get part with it. We're just so amazed by how good this car is, how well it performs, and not from the way that we tuned it or anything, just the way it was manufactured, the way the car just feels like it was just designed to be driven on gravel stages flat out. So, just like a lot of other of you would also agree with that, I don't think you could ever change this platform or move away from the platform that you already chosen about your Mitsubishis or whatever you're driving at the time. Once you find what suits you, what suits your driving, what suits your taste, you always stick with it. So, of course, my answer with that is going to be always staying with the same platform pretty much and setup.
So we talked about the Evo 6, and then obviously you have the Evo 9 now. Have you had any other Mitsubishis in between?
Yeah, of course. My dad, his previous one, our team had Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 4. That was actually our first car and first turbocharged rally car we ever had experience driving. And we ran it for about a year or maybe two. I don't remember the exact period we ran it. And actually, that car lacked a lot of the necessary stuff that made the car competitive. It lacked such as the differential were not really rally art. The rally art differential always the toughest. It was just a stock differential from a different type of Lancer. And also the suspension were not the greatest. However, we managed to runners-up after breaking down on the last event that we were about to win the championship. But because we broke up, we lost the championship for a point.
Oh, man.
But yeah, our experience began with the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 4. Then we moved to the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6, the RS. Not the Tom Mackinnon version, unfortunately. But and then we moved into the most beautiful Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9 GT.
So what advice would you give someone who is looking to get into rally racing, either with their Evo or what have you?
I mean, currently there's a lot of active Facebook pages that people can join, such as the North American Rally Group. You can reach out to many drivers in there that they can help you out. You can find a driver that is specifically driving a car that you either own and you're converting into a rally car, or you're thinking of turning it into a rally car. And you can ask them questions on exactly how they can do it, how they can get into it, and they'll let you know all the details. Converting now a car into a rally car, based on our experience, it's a little bit different than how it's done here in let's just say the American continent. In Europe, it's very technical. It's very difficult for someone who's inexperienced on doing it doing it correctly. We've seen scenarios where inexperience ends up costing someone an engine, let's just say. But yeah, our tips is to always reach out to someone who's been in the sport for many years. Maybe send an email or get in touch with someone who's building these cars, and just find more information. You have to find out how much it's going to cost you to build a car to a level that you want. You can either go with just the typical production class or the Group N class, or you can either, if you really have the budget for it, you can just get into with an open class car, which is more power there, more horsepower, more torque. And yeah, I find that sometimes people are a little bit afraid to ask because they might think that they do not want to seem like they're very knowledgeable in the subject. And as you can imagine, Joshua, if you talk with other people, how many people did they come up to you to ask you about drag cars or is it not the same thing for drag cars specifically on how to build one?
Yeah, I feel like people are reluctant to reach out to try to get some advice. They just want to try to take the hard road sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And how sometimes that doesn't end well, does it?
No. Usually not.
Exactly. So it's the same thing with building a rally car. It's always better and always recommended to reach out to drivers or racing teams that they build cars. But the other thing that you can also do to get involved into the rally world specifically, it's go out and volunteer. Reach out to those clubs that they design and organize specific rally events or rally cross or rally sprint events in your either province or state, and just ask them to volunteer. By volunteering, you get in touch with organizers that they can help you out with a lot of technical stuff, which if I start going through all of them, such as insuring your rally car, which is the most technical thing to do out of everything. But you can also, by volunteering, you can learn the shortcuts of how to do something correctly without having to pay off a damage in the future. So, yeah, going to a rally event, you as a spectator or volunteer, I would say, is also another great way of finding more information on how to get into rally racing. And last thing, maybe also doing research on YouTube. I can see a lot of people that they're starting to make YouTube videos on how to drive a rally car. You can also watch some on-board videos of World Rally Championship drivers driving their cars absolutely flat out. Like you would never seen anyone do it like the way they do it. Yeah, it's just sometimes they do not care. You'll see some ditch and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to brake here. These guys will go with the right kilometers or the right speed, let me just say this, with the right speed over that ditch just because they know how to control this car. And by watching this type of videos, what I want to say is you can take notes on what they're doing, how they're turning, how they're controlling the wheel. And yeah, I mean, in the rally world, it's always a learning road. So you always learn new stuff. You're always going to learn how to, let's just say, adjust my suspension for this type of event, or what type of rally tire I'm going to need. So all these important details, you're going to learn it down the road and by contacting with people and always communicating with others and the most experienced.
I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the types of racing are very different, that's exactly how I would tell somebody to get into drag racing. Start going to the events and start doing your research.
Exactly. And so, yeah, as you said, it's the same thing for drag cars. I mean, no one can just go and beef up his engine and then just go straight into a competition. They have to reach out and get some information about what else can I do? What suspension should I get? What about my brakes? You know, you always learn. It's the same thing with me. I mean, I'm not as fast as my father. I'm 21. My first event with the rally car was 27th of September 2020 during COVID, right? That's when we just finished the rally car because, you know, the new regulations here in Canada that they're different from Europe. We made some changes on the rally car, pretty much by, as we said, increase the turbo restrictor size and maybe lighten up a little bit the car. But by competing on the first event, you know, I got motivated and I kept asking my dad some more questions. And he told me some of his stuff that he learned through his experience. And however, my dad, I mean, I don't want to sound biased, but he drives crazy flat out. I sat with him once as a co-driver. When was it? It was at Shannonville Motorsport Park, I think it's called. And some of your viewers might have heard of it. We went there to break, you know, get everything ready after we rebuilt our transmission because, you know, over the time we had to rebuild the synchros and put new ones inside. And we just went there to break up the clutch a little bit, make sure everything is good. And eventually he got into it. And all I can say, I couldn't last 2 laps around that track because he just really got into it. And from the way he was going into corners or exiting the corners or completely power sliding over, you know, for me, I'm like, there's no way. Sometimes I would hold so hard onto the seats because I thought like, oh, we're going to roll over.
Right.
We're going to roll off the stage. But that's the thing. My dad just knows how the car is going to behave based on the experience he has. So I'm lucky enough, and thank God I have this opportunity, and I have such a father that he's so good at driving. I don't want to sound biased, but you know, he's for me. I always look up to him. He always excited me the way he was driving. He was always leaving me impressed. Every single rally I remember I ever went to watch him. I can tell he loves this thing. It's his passion. So yeah, it's the same thing with me. I ask him, but also I ask other people that they compete with different type of cars, different type of setups, or different type of rally environments, right? So some people from more south in America, they drive in different conditions. Some that drive more in muddy conditions, I might reach out to them and ask them their typical setup. So how do they set up their car in a muddy scenario to behave properly? So what I want to say is I'm not so shy of reaching out to people. I always try to get more information, and sometimes I learn information my father will not know or our other team members will not know. And by me learning these things, I pass them down to them, and they can, you know, gather this information and know on how to set up their car by themselves, and et cetera, et cetera.
That makes sense.
This episode of the MitsuTimes podcast is brought to you by RP Motorsports. Born from the love of cars and a passion for performance, RP Motorsports is a licensed automotive mechanical workshop and parts supplier based in southeast Sydney, Australia, specializing in performance vehicles. With over 20 years of experience, the team at RP Motorsports have built up a wealth of knowledge, that allows them to tackle almost any job, from simple servicing tasks to full house performance builds with confidence and precision, delivering results above and beyond expectations. Experts in performance upgrades for all makes and models, including Evo and twin clutch SST gearbox specialists. If you're looking to boost your car's performance and reliability, RP Motorsports can make that happen. Find out more about their products and services at rpmotorsports.com.au.
I skipped over a question, so I'd like to go back, and I wanted to ask, with the part shortages becoming a very real thing for the Evos, what motivates you to keep pushing this car?
That is actually a great question, and actually kind of sad because, and especially here in Canada where I'm located, the Evo 9 platform never really arrived. So you would imagine trying to get parts. I don't know how it is in America really. You can give an input on that, but specifically here in Canada, Joshua, has been extremely difficult to find all the parts. Actually, 90% of the parts that we had to replace when the Evo, while we were rebuilding the transmission, we had to buy them from Europe actually. And that, as many of you and also some of our Canadian fellows that are listening, they can really back me up on how crazy the import fees have been recently with importing parts, especially for such a car. And yeah, what keeps me pushing? I mean, the love that I have for this car and the respect. I mean, since 2007, we began building it. And as a whole family, we spent a lot of money building it. Actually, turning a road car into a rally car always requires a lot of money. So I will never really give up on it. I definitely will not stop racing it. And that is one of the challenges. It's acquiring parts. That is a price I have to pay, heavily pay. But if something is your passion, you have to do it. You have to commit to it. And yeah, I mean, you can back me up on that. Would you ever stop driving something that you love, or stop doing a sport that you like?
No, I would hope that the vendors that keep making the aftermarket parts, hopefully I can support them the best I can, so they'll keep making the parts. So hopefully I can keep driving it.
Exactly, I totally agree with that. And there's actually a lot of talent out there. However, a lot of this talent does not use what we all use nowadays, social media. I mean, word-to-word, mouth-to-mouth communication is good. However, nowadays, people can reach out their products, and especially some people who make incredible products based on how well they can weld and everything. If they use social media and reach out to their products, it will give such a relief to a lot of us, either in the rally field, either on the drag field, or either as they. Because unfortunately, finding stock parts, especially a car that was made and released in 2005, it's scarce. And a lot of the products have been all accumulated by people that know where to find them, and they're reselling them at triple or quadruple the price. But I mean, as you said, this aftermarket company should really reach out to other people and ensure that their products are being clean.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so what are your goals for 2022? I know we tried to do this a couple weeks ago, and you were prepping for a rally. So obviously you've got a lot of stuff planned for this year. So
yeah, of course.
You got any goals for the end of the year?
Yeah, we have some. So I have my personal goals. My personal goal actually is to improve my pace a little bit. I don't know. Being the first time I ever drive such a car with such power, it's always a little bit intimidating, especially since you've never done anything like that in life. I've never really. I had a go-kart when I was a kid, but I've never really enjoyed it because I outgrew it. And so getting into a four-wheel drive turbo-charged car with anti-lag, it's always a little bit intimidating. So my goals for 2022 is use as much as I can the upcoming events for the PMC Peterborough Mitsubishi Rallycross Championship, and use these events that are being organized for this championship to improve my pace by the end of the year, make sure I'm more comfortable with the car, make sure that I'm not so intimidated by the immense power that this engine produces, and and of course learn all the skills that I learned from sim racing, all these since a kid. I had a simulator, so a lot of the driving techniques I learned through the simulators, but as many of you can back me on that, converting these simulator skills into actual driving skills, it's a different scenario.
Yeah.
As a team, of course, as you can imagine, I will try my best to grow it out. I've been trying my best to grow out the team. I created a website, a bunch of social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and etc. As a goal to get our get our team out there and make sure people see us. The way why we do that is we want to bring some attention to the rally world here in Canada. I mean, USA is getting very, very popular, but here in Canada, I mean, there's a lot of advertising that is being missing, and I think by through our team we can help bring out to the surface other teams that exist here in Canada, and then we can reach out to new fans and new spectators so they can come and watch us. Because without the spectators and the fans, the rally world would not really exist in the near future. So that is why we need, I created this team and I try to promote rally sport as much as I can, either by making people start getting involved or, advertising the events that are coming up so people can make sure they go and give them a look, have fun, be there for us, the drivers, because we go there to give you spectacle to see and see the thrill of driving flat out through forests surrounded by trees, and we're there to excite the fans specifically. Getting the fans excited is not as bad, it's so much more better than winning a state or winning a rally, in my opinion. And that's our goals for 2022, and of course our other goals is obviously to try to win the championship for the PMC Peterborough Mitsubishi Rallycross Championship. It'll be a very good advantage for our team. It'll make us proud, of course, for all this hard work we've been putting since we moved to Canada, trying to get the car ready and get back into the sport, because moving from Europe to Canada, it has made it a little bit difficult on getting back into the sport. It's different regulations. The distance of events are so much more further than what it was in my country. So there's all these little pieces that they were making it hard for us to go back into rallying. But eventually, by staying dedicated, as many of you have stayed dedicated on building your project cars, you can also say that sticking with it has been a very, very important part. So it's the same thing with us. We just try our best to stay in the field, and of course try to help others, and promote our team, of course.
So do you have any long-term goals with this Evo?
Yeah, I think I might have talked to you about that. We want to make our car a little bit more lighter. It'll be a good advantage on the car. It'll make it more agile, especially out of the corners. Other than the technical stuff, we would like to get the car ready for the future to compete in a bigger, much more competitive events, such as the Ontario Rally Sprint Championship, or hopefully on the Ontario Performance Rally Championship, which, or in short, OPRC. OPRC is one of the most competitive and highly recognizable regional events, probably in Canada. And maybe we can figure out the issue of insuring a rally car here in Ontario and how strict everything is. Maybe we can get our team and the car ready for a much more bigger scenario and an event which is the Ontario Performance Rally Championship.
Okay. So I know you have a whole slew of events that you plan to attend this year. Where can people get out and spectate, see this car in action?
Yeah, if people would like to come, we will be in it's called Free Flow MX Truck. It's at Shannonville, Ontario, Canada. And the events are being organized on Saturdays typically. The upcoming event is on June 25th, so actually this Friday. So I was in the before this phone call, I was actually cleaning and adjusting spark plugs because we're all filled out with residue. And yeah, then we have July 23rd, August 13th, and September 17th. They're all being organized over Saturday. People can come by starting, around 9 a.m. That's when we typically start. And the truck is typically, the whole thing is visible by sitting on the side. People can continuously watch us all around the stage, with me and my dad sharing the car. And as well, we can come and see other competitors too that they try their best to bring their cars out at the rallycross event and have some fun. And of course, people can reach out to us or they can gain more information about where the exact location of the truck is or the event date by coming to our website. Of course, it's www.tsangarismotorsport.com, or it's the first link you find on our bio on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, we would love to see some more people there, some more spectators. Joshua, if you ever come in Ontario, make sure you definitely check out that place.
Oh, for sure.
It's amazing. And our intention is maybe hopefully we can provide the opportunity for spectators to be able to co-drive for us, or not co-drive specifically, but just sit as a co-passenger. It will be an amazing opportunity and a thrill. For example, in Cyprus, as the rally competitors and the organizers of the rally events would organize some charity events that would promote blood donation or cancer research charity and etc. And people will buy tickets to either sit as a passenger for a turbocharged car or a two-wheel drive car. And so this money that our rally clubs will gain will obviously go for charity. But then we also provided the people the opportunity, to ride passenger at some amazingly engineered rally cars. And maybe that is something that we're looking our team to bring forward to the organizers in Canada. It will be an amazing thing. It will be an amazing help hand, of course, to institutes that need, the funds to run the operation. So, I mean, it's always good to help using motorsport also, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I always give people an opportunity at the end to give a shout out to anybody who's helped them get where they are. You got anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would like to, of course, give our gratitude, my team's gratitude to our fellow sponsors. Our technical sponsor for this year is Exedi USA, M-Zone Products, and Zytec Germbuster. They've been amazingly helping us out with, parts that we were in need for either working on the car or installing on the car, such as Exedi providing us with a lightweight flywheel and a new clutch, as well as M-Zone providing us amazing products such as brake cleaners, corrosion guard to use on our car because it's essential to protect and keep the car clean. And also our associate sponsors, K&H Automotive Performance and Cooling, and as well our friend Jordan at Illicit Creations for his amazing decal work on our car. And finally, I would like to thank you, Joshua, for providing me this opportunity to come out for actually the first time to talk on a podcast and give my knowledge to other people who are interested on listening and learning more about the rally world. And yeah, if anyone is interested, reach out to us for more. If you have any further questions, just reach out to us on our Instagram at Tsangaris Rally Team. And yeah, again, Joshua, thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It was an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we get some more some different types of motorsport Mitsubishi representation. So,
I agree, and the work you do for MitsuTimes, it's incredible. The way you promote other teams, you promote companies specifically that they're being involved with you, and you know them and you promote them. It's actually very important because a lot of these people that you advertise there, I have never heard of them. So through you, I learned those companies, and I learned other people that I followed as like pretty much a lot of the people that you shared on your feed. I also follow them because of their builds and the dedication that they show in their cars. So it's really amazing to have people like you to promote others, and especially a car company that is not so sporty anymore. And I'm sure you can agree
absolutely,
with that with me. I don't know how they moved away from making such incredible cars to what they're making now. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, it's amazing what you do. Honestly, keep going, I would say.
Absolutely, thank you.
I totally enjoy it.
All right, George, it's been an absolute pleasure, man, and I can't wait to see some more updates from you in the near future, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure we're going to do this again maybe after we're done the championship. Hopefully we're winners. Hopefully, my dad is going to be hopefully the winner. Hopefully I'm not last. I'm still a little bit slow. But again, as you said, it's a learning experience. So I'm hoping at the end of the season I'm also pretty well improved to what my first event was.
We'll definitely have to do a part 2, so we can keep tabs on you.
Absolutely.
All right, have a good one, George.
You too. Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.